Temples, chocolate, and a city built on water? That's right, it's time for the top 10 messed up things the Aztecs did. Number 10, a market to die for. The housing market in a lot of places right now isn't exactly the greatest. I mean, who doesn't want to pay $3 grand a month for an apartment the literal size of a closet? You gotta love New York, right? Well, the Aztecs may have had a similar issue. No, not a housing market with unrealistic prices that are being pressured by both internal and external factors, but rather the Aztecs would bury their dead underneath their homes. What? Yes, that's right. Your house could sit on top of grandma. She loves you, you love her, and now you can be close forever. As great as an idea as this sounds, I personally have a few issues with this. Alright, one being that if your family members perish because of a disease, I feel like having them in close proximity to you, even though they're underground, is kind of a bad idea. Oh, also, because, there's just bodies living underneath your house. Way too goth for me. I'll stick to my house not having any burial grounds underneath it, thanks. Yeah, no thanks. Number 9. Bring us the girl and wipe away the debt. Mr. Do-It. There's some really cool cities out there. Rapture, Columbia, Las Vegas. I've never been to Vegas, but honestly it's my kind of town. All you can eat buffets, gambling, shows, ladies of the evening. Man, what a city. The Aztecs may not have had a city that never sleeps, but they did have a floating city. No, not exactly like in BioShock, but close enough. The city of Tenochtitlan was built on a lake, and according to legend, an eagle told the tribes of Mexico, that's what Aztecs were, that's what Europeans called them. I don't know why they didn't call them by their name, but okay. To build their great city here, and it was a great city. The largest and most wealthy city in the region. Its power and wealth come from conquering other tribes and tributes. After all, like I say, if you're gonna be that powerful, you gotta break a few eggs to make your omelet. However, it's not all bad, as it was even known for being a very clean at the time, and may have even had its early version of a garbage program with garbage men. Looking at photos of the city, it looks pretty cool actually, so I'll make sure to visit here when, traveling is safe again because of you know what. Number 8, missing tech tree. If you've ever played Civilization, Age of Empires, or any other RTS game that lets you command armies of thousands and build bases and cities, then you know how important it is to understand each civilization's tech tree. Some are better than others, and some are a little overpowered. I'm looking at you, Greek from Age of Empires 1. Too powerful. With late 90s PC nostalgia set aside, some civs flourish even without access to certain tech. Like the real-life Aztecs, for example, who strangely never discovered the wheel or the use of iron. Yeah, that's right. They built an amazing city on the water without what most Europeans at the time would consider essential. This does make sense when you factor in the terrain. Tenochtitlan had lots of water, so trading and moving goods via boat was much faster. The region also had a lot of inclines and was somewhat mountainous, and they were a long way off from building tunnels with roads, so the boats, they'll have to do it for now. It just makes sense actually. Number 7, the land of chocolate. When you think of chocolate, you think of Europe, or at least I do. Decadent, creamy, chocolatey goodness, especially Lindors. Oh baby, I can put a few of those away. However, my chocolate-loving friends, it wasn't exactly a European invention, as it was the Aztecs who first introduced the sweet treat to Europeans. Chocolate was so important to the Aztecs that for small purchases, cocoa beans were used as currency. Imagine walking into a coffee shop and instead of handing over a crisp dollar bill, you bust out a Milky Way bar and the cashier says, nah, you need a Milky Way and a Crispy Crunch. Ugh, coffee prices cost too many chocolate bars these days. I know, it's a lame joke, but sometimes we gotta have some lighthearted fun. There's a lot of nasty stuff in history, like what happened after the Aztecs showed the Europeans what chocolate was. Just trying to have a little bit of fun. It gets worse down the line, trust me. Number 6, girl power. I'm happy once again to tell you that some people of the past were not completely awful, no good, rotten men, because women in the Aztec Empire had more freedoms than the Europeans did. Come on, Europe of the past, get with the program. Aztecs are letting women do stuff, and they do some other stuff that's pretty messed up, which I will get to later, like I said. But for the women of the Aztecs, they were allowed to own property, businesses, but more importantly, could inherit wealth from their parents if they were male or female, which kinda means women can marry for love, whereas in Europe, marrying a woman is a business decision. Marry a woman and have children with a 20% increase of love and happiness, and 80% I married you because your father has money and my father has land, so let's make an alliance and just go with that. Say, your sister looks kinda nice though. Yeah, I'll stick to my wife who can own stuff. And all of our delicious chocolate, thanks. Yeah, that sounds a lot better. Number 5, Montezuma. One day the Aztecs were big chillin' as Aztecs were known to do when all of a sudden some strange vessels came into view. It was Herman Cortez and the Spanish conquistadors. At first, relations were good, based on the curiosity of each other's civilizations, simply because everything was new. They looked at each other the same way dads look at a new drill and toolkit on Christmas morning. This, however, quickly soured as things became violent, and not the kind of violence that makes your parents not want you to play video games. I mean real violent, as the Spanish in 1520 slaughtered thousands of Aztecs, including religious leaders and the King Montezuma himself. The Spanish claimed they did this to prevent the Aztecs from their favorite pastime of human sacrifice. And the Aztecs claimed the Spanish were after their gold. We're both right, or both wrong. I'm not sure, but what I am sure of is that there was some fighting, and it was a big loss of human life. Bad time to be in that city. It's a good thing powerful militaries would never again falsify information to aggressively take what they want, right? Number 4. Guns, Germs, and Steel. By this time, it should be no surprise to anyone that Europeans did some naughty things. Bad Europeans! Go sit in the naughty corner! You bad! The Aztecs simply didn't stand a chance against an enemy who was years ahead of them in technology. If having steel weapons and armor wasn't enough, the Spanish also had early firearms, which compared to the Aztecs was like having godlike powers. However, for the Aztecs, things were going to get much worse as the enemy that would have the most effect on them wasn't exactly the easiest enemy to fight. An enemy you can't exactly see. No, not ghosts. Nice try though. Germs, cooties, sicknesses. Europeans brought a whole bunch of lovely ones over. It was the Aztecs' first exposure to such. It caused many of them to perish. Basically the plot of War of the Worlds, except no Tom Cruise, and instead of invaders perishing, it was the defenders. That movie's not great. Number 3. Accent wall. You probably couldn't tell, but I have a lot of experience with paint. Used to mix it for a living. And honey, I can tell that you've been thinking about redecorating. Repaint the walls with something happier. Bright colors are in, trust me, sweetheart. Aztecs also like to redecorate, but not with paint, but with human skulls. A skull rack of sorts, placed to show off all the human sacrifice that the Aztecs had accomplished. I don't know why people of the past did this all the time. I bet you we'll find more creative human decorating in the future. However, I personally prefer bold colors on my walls instead of actual human skulls, but hey, that's just me. Archaeologists in 2017 found 650 skulls in a temple excavation in Mexico. That's just, okay, sure. That's normal. Number 2. Fava Beans.
I ate his liver with a side of fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Anyway, that's a bad impression. That impression was okay. I'm sorry, I don't know. I think my Marlon Brando is better. But anyway, this one is very weird. Aztecs had a lot of gods, and they wanted to keep them happy. Which I'll get to in the next part, but sometimes it wasn't all bad, like when they built idols of gods with seeds and honey. Oh man, that's really yummy, I love seeds and honey. Oh, but I forgot an ingredient. Oh yeah, blood. Yep, that's right. Seeds, honey, and blood, like the worst granola bar ever made. They would break it off and everybody would just come and take a bite. Besides the major risks of consuming other people's blood, I don't know if you guys have ever tasted blood, but it's somewhere between gross and drinking liquid iron. The Aztecs were also known to practice cannibalism because of reasons. That's why. I get a little lightheaded just thinking about that. Number 1. Kalima Kalima. I saved the best part for last, and despite all the knowledge and beautiful things the Aztecs should be known for, they are perhaps most remembered for their human sacrifices. The Aztecs loved to sacrifice anything to the gods, honestly, and in one count, an estimated 80,000 sacrifices in 4 days. Is that something to boast about? I'm not sure. Taking the beating heart out of a person while still alive in front of roaring crowds. Is that evil or is that theater? I don't know. Sadly for the people on the operating table and those watching the sacrifices, did not seem to have much effect when Europeans came over and destroyed their cities. Maybe if we sacrifice harder, then we shall beat our enemies. Yeah, I don't know, but that's along the same thought process, I guess. I went into the chief's tent last night, and you know what? He said that's not it. That's gonna wrap it up for me today, guys. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe here at BumbleBee, and if you too want to watch someone's heart beating outside of their chest, check out my socials linked down below. I've been your host, Big Ched, and stay sweet, my little honeybees. I've always got an intro, dude. Don't worry about me, bro. Not a housing market with an unrealistic price. No, not a. Mr. Do It. That's for the gamers out there. Let's read English. Let's try it again. Sorry. I'm a historian. Sure, let's go with that. To the Lindors. Oh, baby, I can put a few of those away. Of course you can. That's gonna wrap it up for.